Hello and welcome to Moving Through Menopause. And we're really having some fun this afternoon because technology's getting the better of us. That's what happens when you get to menopause. Anyway, so we're here this afternoon to talk about intimate health. We're still on that topic. And I've got Jacquie Whur here. Jacquie is a clinical hypnotherapist, and we're going to talk all about the psychological ramifications of having challenges in the vaginal area, and maybe with intimate relationships as well. So, welcome to Jacquie. Hello, Jacquie.
Yes, hi there, Philippa. Thank you for inviting me on. We finally, as you say, got over our hiccups.
Oh dear, there's nothing like new experiences in midlife to spice things up. And so, on the topic of spicing things up, Jacquie, relationships, intimacy is so important for relationships, isn't it? Our nearest and dearest. And I know this because my husband's currently on a 6-month detachment abroad. So,
Right, goodness, yeah.
so we, and of course, menopause brings challenges that, vaginal dryness. Sometimes it's around mood and emotions, lack of libido.
Mhm.
So lots of challenges that can present themselves around this time of life. And sometimes this stuff takes us by surprise. Nobody told us this was what was going to happen, and that can be confounded by all sorts of experiences, like stress, for instance. And
Yeah, absolutely. Stress can play a big part. It affects all of our hormones, how we feel about ourselves. And as soon as we start to knock any of those hormones out of sync, then everything can kind of just go out of sync as well. So it's not just our lowered estrogen levels that can be causing the vaginal dryness. It's the things that we're telling ourselves as well, the things that we're running through our mind, how we feel about ourselves, whether we feel as though we're even losing a little bit of our femininity as well, which can start to affect what's happening in our mind and down below. Obviously, I mean, we both know as well to always consult our GP in terms of anything, health related. Yes, but the mind can play a big part in it. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I know this from my own point of view. Low mood. You're not in the mood if you've got a low mood quite often. And that was something that definitely plagued me. And then anxiety. You start to worry about all sorts of things. And, I was watching that program on the telly, which actually I think is something we should all watch. That's something about getting naked. What is it? Dating naked. You know that program on the
Oh,
telly?
yeah, I've never seen it. Yeah, I've not seen it, so I don't know. I've heard about it though.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's kind of educational, is what I'm going to say. So I was
Yeah.
watching it, as you do. I'm here on my own, so I'm watching it and thinking somebody on there. They were talking about vaginas, and somebody said, "Oh, I've got an innie," and someone else goes, "Oh no, mine's an outie," and I'm like, "What on earth is this conversation?" I didn't even know there was such a thing, but once they pointed
Me
it out,
neither.
yeah, well, so it's kind of a bit like your belly button, Jacquie. Think of that,
Well,
right?
that's where I was thinking an innie and an outie. I thought that was just belly buttons.
Yeah, no, it's not. So, but, from the point of view of aesthetics, is what I'm talking about, really.
Yeah, yeah.
That there are norms that we think we need to conform to.
Hmm.
And that's on the outside, our faces, but it doesn't just end there nowadays, does it? Uh,
No, you hear about aesthetic work happening down below as well.
yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
definitely. And I think sometimes there are very valid anatomical reasons, health reasons why that would be appropriate. I know one of my associates on LinkedIn is a not an obstetrician. What is it? Oh gosh, do you know what? This menopause is playing me off now. Anyway, she's qualified to do laser treatment for the vaginal area, and it isn't always just about aesthetics, That and not that even if that's for you, then fair enough. I'm not going to get involved in that debate, but we start to question ourselves at every possible opportunity.
We do. Yeah.
After having
If we
children.
don't have enough to worry about of how this looks without worrying how this looks. Yeah.
Yes, and I mean, that it can undermine our confidence, our body
Hmm.
confidence, and so the self-talk, I think, is kind of what you were referring to. The things we say to ourselves
Mm.
in our mind are so very, very powerful, and
Yeah.
so it's really important to be kind to ourselves
Yes.
during these times of things are changing, things are going to change. That's part of
Yeah.
the wonder of life, isn't it? Nothing
It
stays the
is.
same.
Yes, and so it's really important that we continue to learn to love ourselves as we are changing, as we're getting old, and not sort of thinking, well, oh, that's it, done, dusted, and yes, leaving it by the side. We have to continue to love ourselves because if we don't, then mentally it takes us to a place that's not good for us. It gets all of those stress hormones going. So yes, it is learning to just sit with an acceptance of who we are and that our body is constantly evolving and loving it as it's going through all of these changes. So yes, sitting with your mindset and accepting it, growing old, but at the same time understanding we don't have to although I'm saying accept who we are, we don't have to accept what's happening down there. We can go to the doctors, we can get help. There's lots of things that we can do. So that in itself is also being confident enough to actually go to the doctor, to go and speak to somebody, to
Mm,
have these discussions that we are having
mm,
rather than just sitting at home and allowing it to weigh heavy on the mind and to think that this is it, we can't do anything about it. So it's empowering ourselves to still enjoy who we are and enjoy everything about our bodies and life, and not to think that when we get to menopause that it's a point that we have to pull back from certain aspects. So we all know that we've covered the nutrition side. What we eat is so important to us, and
mm,
the exercise as well from yourself that we have to do. And the mind just falls into this as well, that we are connected, our mind and body. So what we think has a big effect upon what's happening within our body as well. So we have to learn to think nice thoughts about ourselves. We have to accept who we are, to appreciate everything that our body can do for ourselves. So learning relaxation techniques are really crucial.
mm,
So that we are teaching our bodies to let go of not just the tension that we're holding within our body, but also the tension within our mind, to be able to let go of all those negative thoughts and to stop being so critical of ourselves and
mm.
just enjoy everything that life is offering us.
Well, yeah, exactly. And on that note, you mentioned appreciation, and I read something about the absence of positive thoughts has a greater negative impact on our health than the presence of negative thoughts.
Mm,
So
that's
that's just like mind blowing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's really fascinating, isn't it? Because if we don't have positive thoughts, what actually are we sitting with? Yeah, we need to learn to train our mind to look for the good, to look for everything that is wonderful. Whether it is just simply, at this moment in time, we're having this wonderful weather to open up and go outside and just enjoy it, get all that lovely sunshine and really appreciate it.
Mm,
So yes, it falls into every aspect of our life, having those positive thoughts. So learning small acts of gratitude are really important as well. Just tiny little things when we start to train our minds to notice them, as opposed to sort of constantly picking up on the negative. We
mm,
actually have, because our minds do have a negative bias, so we do have to force them to start looking for the positive. And it's this menopause stage, there are lots of potential things that we could perceive as being negative happening. But
mm.
if we can train our mind to stop seeing them that way, and we're just seeing them as changes, and that there's still lots of positives that are happening, it's just our body changing, then we can start to look at it in a much different way.
Yeah, so we need to be our own spin doctor, don't we,
We
really?
do. Absolutely, you do. We need to be our own cheerleaders and yes, our spin doctors. Yeah, yeah. Because if we're not sort of boosting ourselves up, why are we waiting on somebody else doing it? Because if nobody else does it, it might never actually happen. So we have to learn to do it
Mm.
ourselves and learn our own sense of self-worth and appreciate it.
Yeah, I think this is something that I'm becoming increasingly aware of, the importance of this. And it's not a indulgence, some people might consider that to be well, I might have done in the past, to be perfectly honest. So,
Hmm.
and really it is so very crucial that, like you say, we are our own cheerleader, we're our own
Yeah,
uh, support,
yeah,
um, and the power of those thoughts, that we turn them to good, the power of good, rather than
hmm,
this undermining, the ability to
yeah.
undermine us.
Yeah,
So,
and I
I
think
mean,
so. A lot of sorry,
no, no, go ahead.
I think a lot of people, as well as we're entering into the menopause, in terms of the thoughts and the increased anxiety that comes
Mm,
with it, if you focus on it, then that's when it becomes a problem. For myself, I tend to just think, when I've got all these little brain blips going on, and the forgetfulness, I think to myself, just throw that thought away, because if I want to sit and dwell on it, then I could actually make myself feel more anxious about it. But why would I want to do that? You know, at the end of the day, and it's what I teach, all my clients to do, is to more or less, if the thought isn't working for you, throw it away, because we are in control of our own minds. That is the one thing that we can absolutely do. So we can get to choose the thoughts, we can get to choose our beliefs, and we can decide if that's not working for us, then why hang on to that particular thought and pick a different thought. Choose one that is going to work for you, one where you do start to feel good about yourself.
rewriting the scripts, kind of thing.
It is. Yeah, yeah, very much so. So whether we're looking at the intimate health side of the changes to menopause or any other aspect, yes, if you are suffering with that dryness, there are options. You can go to the doctor and get help. And it doesn't need to be just looking at HRT, but you can also realize that if you decide to start worrying and stressing about it, you're going to be releasing all of those stress hormones, which are going to cause even more disruption and
Mm,
more imbalance. So, by learning to get yourself to that place where you can just find a calmness within your mind and accept it, and then look for the help that you need to be able to move forward, then all the hormones are balanced and you're in a much better place.
yeah, that's right. Absolutely, there is so much that we can do in terms of physical interventions. Yoga is something, a passion of mine, and I know that this is something I've used to my own benefit for managing stress, anxiety, sleeplessness.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of those things together will invariably have an impact on our relationships. And
Yeah.
there's nothing more likely to turn you off than feeling absolutely exhausted, is there? I mean,
No, no. And if you're not loving yourself, how do we get ourselves to a point where we expect other people to love us? We have to feel, that love for ourselves to be able to put ourselves in that place. If you're going around and thinking terrible thoughts of yourself, then your body's going to be feeling, whether it's mentally or whether it's physically, it's going to be feeling those exact same thoughts. So yeah, we have to put ourselves and our minds into that place of just calm acceptance and feeling worthwhile.
mm. I suppose the thing that I found is that you can very easily sort of find yourself heading in this downward sort of a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
One thing kind of compounds another thing, and you just find yourself in a place where it is very hard sometimes to sort of, certainly on your own anyway, to dig yourself
Yeah,
out of, you know. Um,
yeah.
so this is something that I found personally.
Mm-hmm.
I've worked with lots of people who, in my physiotherapy career, you just get to a point where you're in so much pain, you've not slept, maybe you start to gain weight, and of course, this is something that comes along with menopause for lots of women is gaining weight in places you maybe not didn't do before, around the middle particularly, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and so all of these things kind of hit us all at once together. And
Yeah.
it is hard with the expectations of that are thrust upon us by the media. I'm,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of Jane Fonda. How she looks nowadays. This lady that I think she's 80 or something. And
Oh my goodness.
all the intervention that she's had.
Yeah. And
I mean,
it's just not the regular woman, really, is it?
well, no, but these are the images, aren't they, that we're
Mm.
bombarded with. Uh, uh, I like, let's have some real women doing, bearing all. Maybe not. Just watch that program. I'm not going to be taking my clothes off. Um, but you know what I mean. It is really a challenge for us to, don't think for 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
Just because people, we know the theory, don't think that it's a walk in the park or a breeze, because it isn't. I'm talking from my perspective. It isn't. It isn't. And that, but having support, I guess, is something that can really help us. Whether it's peers, our lady chums, or
Yeah.
professionals, whatever it is.
Having a good chat with them and yeah, getting
Yeah.
out. But at the same time as chatting, I always like to point out to all my clients to look for the solutions, because often, as when we're chatting with friends, we like to, or we tend to focus in on the problem, and we'll all just talk about the problems. But the problem with that is we're not finding a solution, and so we have to always try and look, gear our mind to looking for those solutions. So much like yourself, if you've got clients that are coming in and they are experiencing pain, they're putting weight on, and all of everything that's coming, it seems to happen all at once, or
Mm,
that's when they've decided to seek some help, once everything is just has
mm,
reached that point where it's starting to really encroach on life and be a little bit more intrusive or um, stressful. Is that whatever change we're going to make is to make it just for this moment, because long term, I think it's really hard to conceive how we can go from here to here, and it's too big a jump. So I always
mm,
think to myself, actually, just for this moment, going for a walk would be really good. Or just for this moment, choosing to eat something that's really nutritious over a different choice would be really good. When we do things just for this moment, it becomes much easier to keep repeating just those moments, as opposed to thinking, for the rest of my life, I've got to start exercising for 30 minutes every single day. And that can just feel,
Yeah,
oh, but if we're doing it just for this moment, then it becomes doable because there's nothing stopping us right now thinking, okay, I'm just going to go have a walk, or have a walk once I've finished work when I get home. Because being outside is just so good for us, and it helps
yeah,
the mind to just put all those stresses into the right place rather than sort of sitting constantly. And I always say as well, if you've had a really busy day and you're coming back from the office, before you get out of the car, just sit there for a few moments, do some breathing exercises. Absolutely love breathing exercises. They're a great way for stress relief. And do them and then go into the house. And it's almost as if you can learn to leave those stresses somewhere else. You don't need to take them home with you. We can step through our front door and be a little bit calmer and in that
yeah,
place where we can be kinder to ourselves and think, okay, just this moment I'm going to have a walk, or I'm going to sit out in the garden for half an hour and just enjoy the sunshine before we get on with all the other things that we need to do. So yeah,
yeah,
breaking down these changes into little parts become
yeah.
much more doable.
I mean, they talk about this a lot for lots of any habit change, essentially. But I like that idea that you're thinking of literally just that minute in
Mm,
time, and it puts you under no pressure to commit to doing the same thing every day, or and
yeah,
pick from a menu. You have a variety of
yeah.
suggestions, and think of what really speaks to you at that moment in time, because it may be, if it's pouring down with rain, it might not be
Hmm.
going for a walk. It might
Mm,
be that you want to do a yoga video.
yeah, definitely,
You know what I mean?
definitely.
So,
Yeah.
and you did say something that we do tend to allow things to get to a point before we take action, and that often is that we've kind of let things go a bit too far before
Hmm.
we actually start to take action. And so this is the thing that I'm so very passionate about. If we can intervene in advance, wouldn't that be fabulous?
It would,
Or maybe
yes.
just, a little bit more awareness around when we start to feel a downturn, whether it's in
Hmm.
mood or your habits, whatever it is. If we can just at that moment when we see that things are on the decline or whatever, then intervene at that point, because that's going to be a much shorter, easier journey than if we've gone, let ourselves or
Yeah.
find ourselves going, deeper into this situation. So,
Mm,
and the breath, that your breath you speak to is so
yeah.
powerful, so powerful,
Oh,
simple, and yet so powerful,
it is.
and really can just shift, like you said. I think you said something about, I call it the tone in your brain, a bit like muscle tone,
Hmm.
the level of awareness, anxiety, you mentioned in the
Yeah.
brain as well as in your body. Tension, I think you called it. Yes,
Yeah.
tension.
Yeah. What
And
we hold here as
yeah,
well. Yeah.
exactly. And so people find that the concept of holding, especially when you start to say things like about the brain, oh, it's all in my head, oh, you think it's all in my head. Well,
Hmm.
no, but there is so much going on in the brain that we cannot afford to ignore that set of circumstances and things that
Yeah.
speak to the central nervous system. The breath speaks so beautifully to the central nervous system, and meditation is the other thing. That meditation for stress reduction, and we can improve hot flushes. If we get less in the way of hot flushes, we
Hmm.
we feel so much more human, less self-conscious, effacing. I
Hmm.
think simple measures. This is the thing that alongside is conventional Western medicine is
Yeah.
the thing.
It is, and certainly sort of taking, the conversation back, right back to the intimate health side. Yes, we can, get medicine to help with that, but then we might find ourselves in a place where we're then scared to be intimate for fear that it might be painful. So yes, that's where we then go back to the mind, where we have to get over those thoughts and
Mm,
also teach our body to relax. So this is where we then bring the breath
mm,
work and the meditation back into it, where we can learn to just move the body over into that parasympathetic side and allow everything to become more relaxed, which
mm.
again links back to for yourself with pelvic floor exercises. When we're doing, we can increase the tone, we can improve what's happening down there with our pelvic floor
Yeah,
area and keep it in good shape, which
yeah,
is
yeah,
really, really important. And it's not just good shape for bladder control, it's good shape for intimacy as well.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
because it's also an area that suffers from, if you don't use it, you lose it sort of um,
I know
situation. So
the old ad.
yeah,
Yes, yeah,
mm.
absolutely. I mean, thank you for reminding me. I, of course, we can exercise this area too, and I
Yeah.
know I've talked about this before with Claire Ottewell in our previous conversation. I went through that in quite some detail, actually, the pelvic floor exercises. But yeah, I mean, tissues are
Hmm.
going to be more resilient if we exercise them, and that's
Yeah.
whether it's your abdominal muscles or your pelvic floor muscles, and the
Hmm.
resilient tissues are less prone to injury. So yes, lots and lots of things that we can do for ourselves. But today we were kind of focusing on this, the
And the
thoughts
thought
aspect
process.
of
Yeah.
things. But it
Yeah.
is so much of a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? And putting all these things into place. I personally, advocate a multifaceted approach to
Me
wellness.
too. Yeah. Me
Yeah,
too.
so
They,
that's why we're
they
talking, isn't
go
it?
hand in hand. Yeah, they do. They go hand in hand. But one of the main things that I always teach my clients, and what's so important, is to understand that just because you've thought something, it doesn't mean to say that you have to believe it. We can learn really quite effectively to choose the thoughts that we have, or to choose, as I say, to throw them away. Oh, my earbud's falling out. Um, Throwing it away. Yeah.
Yeah,
But we
literally.
can, yeah, we can, yeah, but we can also learn to literally throw our thoughts away. It's only once we choose to believe them that they then become a problem in our life. So if we choose to believe that the changes that are happening are with our menopause are detrimental, then that's actually how it's going to feel, because that's what we've decided to believe with that thought. If we choose to believe that it's just simply a process that we're going through, and yes, we might need a little bit of intervention medically, then that's again a choice that we can decide to take and move forward in that positive place rather than holding on to those negative thoughts.
Mm. Well, I like that, and I think that's a perfect place to finish. Finish on a high with some positive thoughts, and know that we do have control over some of what is going on inside our minds,
Mm,
and maybe sometimes we just need a little bit of support or a steer or guidance to send us in the right direction. But we know there's lots of guidance and support around. If not from us, then find what you need. It's the internet
mm-hmm.
is, if nothing else, it's
Yeah,
a vast source of
it
information.
is. It is, yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for chatting today. Thank you for overcoming
Thank
our
you, Philippa.
technological challenges and giving us
You,
failure. I know.
I know.
So we'll go and sit down and put our feet up after this, I think.
Yeah. Grab a bit of that sunshine. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks again, Jackie. Take care now.
Thank you, Philippa. Thanks.
Bye for now.
Bye.